This is Driving in Cars with Mineral Guys with Cas Atchison. Cas, what's up, man?
Not much, man. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good, man. Driving around in beautiful Austin, Texas, man. I flew in last night, got meetings here today, and we were able to squeeze this in, man. So thank you for taking the time and looking forward to the conversation. So tell me, just give everybody just a quick intro on you and, what you do and...
Sure. So I am a fourth generation Texas oil and gas guy. Grew up obviously in the business and never really thought I was gonna end up in the business. Actually went to school for finance, thought I was gonna be in the real estate world, but I always joke kind of like, I feel like Al Pacino in The Godfather 3. It's like I try to get out, it just keeps pulling me back in. And so...
it gets in your blood.
Yeah, and so I did. I got out of school and I actually was in real estate for about a year and a half, and then just managed to stumble into being a landman. And so been in the business just about 23 years now.
Always in Austin? Or?
Started off in Houston, and then was dating a girl. And then when we broke up, I got back to Austin as soon as I could. So
got it.
I've basically been to Austin since '99 when I came for school, and then moved back here full time in about 04, 05, something like that.
Got it.
So I've seen a lot of the changes in Austin, especially too, grow from a small independent oil and gas town and with the Parsleys and the Three Rivers and then shrink and now grow back again. But land's my background. Over the course of my career, I've moved into more putting the deals together, brokering deals, and now kind of fully focused on minerals and royalties investments, both putting deals together for investors, and then the new company, Core Financing, just kind of helping guys on the financing side of deals.
Love it, man. Love it. So you started, so what was your first job working in oil and gas?
I was a landman. I worked for this infamous, notorious land broker named Butch Hendrickson out of Houston, and he was kind of like my... He was like your bad uncle that he used to buy me beer in high school when my parents would go. He was my across the street neighbor, and he would buy me beer in high school and drink them with us. And anyways, after I fell out of the real estate deal, and my dad basically told me to go talk to this guy, and I did, and he put me to work. And my first gig was out in Liberty, Texas, and I'll never forget my first. He was notorious for just sending landmen with no experience to the courthouse and being pull books and ask questions from other people. And there was a guy that he knew there, and I tracked him down. And this guy, the first question I ever had on my first day of the job, not knowing anything. The guy asked me, he says, "Are you an alcoholic yet?"
Yeah.
And he basically said, so it started in Liberty, Texas, and from there it moved to Barnett Shale, and I spent a lot of time in South Texas.
Got it. So in the Barnett Shale days, so that's
04 to 05, kind of. It was great living in Sundance Square and
got it.
Working all over Cleburne and all of the Jack counties and all over the different counties. But and then moved to South Texas. I was in South Texas for probably about 10 years.
Yeah, fantastic. So you've been in Austin pretty much for the last 10 plus years?
20 now, almost 20. I've been in Austin longer than I was in Houston growing up. So. And
so your primary business, and we'll talk about Core Financing in a little bit, but tell me, so the brokering deals.
Yeah.
Tell me about that. What did that look like? How did you get into it?
Yeah.
Who are your clients? Tell me about that.
Sure. So. It really started in 09. I was a landman in South Texas and was working for a client, and we all of a sudden started seeing the leasing going from $150 an acre and 3/16 to 250 and a fifth, and like moving up steadily by steadily. And when we learned that Chesapeake had moved in, so this was right before the Eagle Ford, so we were out there leasing Olmos stuff.
Oh yeah,
for our client.
Yeah.
So like they were out there drilling Olmos, and
was it like AWP field? Like,
yeah. Well, we were on the Briscoe Ranch. We started in the Briscoe Ranch, and then we moved over to like Catarina and right along like the LaSalle Webb L. We were down in like that area leasing.
Yep.
But AWP was definitely there. But yeah, and so went to the client, and I basically said, with all this stuff that y'all are passing on, what are y'all going to do with it? And they were like, nothing. And I said, is it okay if I try to do something with it? I'll cut you in or whatever. And they said, you can have it. You don't have to worry about us. And so I knew I had something. I just didn't know what to do with it. And so I called my dad, and I said, hey, I've got all this information, and I don't know what to do with it. And he basically kind of lit up. He says, I know what to do with it.
Yeah.
And so we ended up working together for about 5 years down in the Eagle from 09 to 14 and put together about 30,000 acres of leasehold and minerals.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. And sold them to Chesapeake and Buffco. A bunch of those guys. We were really heavy in the Dimmitt LaSalle area. So that my dad is really who taught me the art of brokering a deal, and most importantly, and this is something I've taken with my whole career, is having good buyers or end users, because you can have all the best deals and information in the world, but if no one's going to buy it from you, it's not worth very much.
Yeah, 100%.
And so that's kind of how I got started, and from there it's moved on to now mainly focused on minerals and royalties, basin agnostic, and have done thousands of acres of deals, and been a great career, and I love doing it and working with all the different buyers in the space.
No, I love it, man, and I'm definitely a deal junkie, and it's like I just love doing deals. And honestly, like it's rare that I see a deal that I don't want to try to do. But a lot of times, the market will tell you whether something is worth spending time on.
Absolutely. For the sellers, I think we are probably, one of their biggest advocates in the sense, I know on your previous episode with Tim, you kind of talked about there's no more real low-hanging fruit in this industry, or in certain deals. It's just kind of, the low-hanging fruit's been picked.
Yeah.
So, I think what we can do with sellers and owners is we allow them to get the best deals, and not, a lot of the stuff I get is through attorney networks that their clients get an offer in the mail.
Totally.
And they call me and say, can you beat this deal? And, no offense to all the guys out there writing letters, but 9 out of 10 times we can beat that deal. And so, I think we're advocates in the sense for the sellers, in that we provide them a plethora of options and say, look, here's maybe 2 or 3 guys I know, trust. Here's the different pros, cons of each one, or maybe it's not the highest offer, but it's the best buyer for that deal or whatever. And so, on that end, I think we'll do that. And then, for the end users, I still think we are the main source of deals for all the big boys and the buyers.
And the way I explain it is to a lot of, because I've got this course out there, and we're bringing students in. The big guys, the private equity backed guys with the big family offices, they don't want to do the work. They don't want to get their hands dirty, so to speak. To put Humpty Dumpty back together, right? To find value in deals, and they just want to sit back, right, and have people like us bring them the deals, basically.
Well, and to your point, like, we're also the guys on the ground with the networks and the bird dogs and the people in Midland or Ohio or Haynesville that know the locals, that are getting the deals that they don't want to sell it to somebody that they don't know, but they've got someone they know and trust. And if you are, that's how I get 90% of my deals these days, is referrals.
Yes. It honestly, yes. And I'll give you an example, like, of a deal that I did, and so Southwest PA, I do a lot of stuff in Ohio, and I had basically a referral that came across. The first seller was in Jefferson County, which is like right on the border, right? So Washington County's just on the other side, right? So this lady calls me. She's like, "Hey, I got your number from such and such. Like, we'd like to sell." And I'm like, "Okay, that sounds fantastic." And never seen a deal that I don't want to try to get done, right? I didn't know a lot about kind of this specific township in Washington County, but Washington County for the most part is pretty solid.
Sure.
And so I went ahead and did the deal, got the deal under contract for what I thought was just a total screaming deal. And I put it out to market, and I very quickly found out that I'd offered the seller too much. Now, we did end up getting that deal done, and we found the right seller for it, right? But it is interesting, kind of as brokers, right? We have access to network. That is the service really that we can provide, right, to sellers. Right, but on the other end, it is always interesting, kind of, being in the middle, and it doesn't always work out the way that you think it's going to work out. But
that one of the most underappreciated guys in the business.
no doubt.
That and Landman.
Yeah,
nobody thinks they need us until they need us.
No, that's exactly right. Yeah, I mean, it's like no one wants to. None of the private equity guys want to admit, that 80 or 90% of their deal flow, comes from guys like us.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that may be a little bit controversial, but it's all good.
Yeah, and when you send me these questions, I really I love these questions because it really got me thinking. But yeah, so the first memorable deal I ever did, it was as a landman. It was like I had just moved to South Texas, started working for that guy Butch, and we'd been trying. The client was a friend of Butch's from Sunday school, and they weren't even officially clients yet, but they were in Sunday school, and the VP of land for this client, for this operator, was like, "Man, I've been trying to get this Briscoe lease. I can't get Ed Vaughn to call me back." He was the Briscoe's attorney, and he was like, "I can't get him to call me back, but we really want this lease, blah, blah, blah." This guy Butch was like, "Give it to me." And he was like, "Really?" He's like, "Yeah." So Butch on Monday morning was like, "Get in the car. We're driving to Bernie. We're going to go meet with Ed Vaughn. We're going to go get a lease." So we're driving down there, and as we get there, it's getting close to lunchtime, and we buy a couple sacks of cheeseburgers. And so I thought we were eating in the car. He's like, no, hold it. So we go in, we walk into Ed Vaughn's office, the Briscoe's attorney, say, "Oh, we're here to see Ed Vaughn." He said, "Oh, well, we're not visiting," or he's booked or whatever it was. "Oh, that's okay, we'll wait." And we plop down with these cheeseburgers in their office and start eating them. And within 10 minutes, it was like, "Ed Vaughn will see you now." He gets up, he has this grin on his face, throws it in the trash. We walk in to see Ed Vaughn. He puts on this spiel about who this young company is, what they're going to do, blah, blah, blah. And we walk out with ink on a 95,000 acre lease.
No way.
Yes. Yeah, it was crazy. And so
what was the lease bonus on that lease?
Man, I don't remember. I want to say it was $350. Maybe 500. I don't even remember, but it was like Southern Dimmitt Briscoe Ranch stuff back in the day, and that that's now drilled up by Anadarko and everyone. But it was the early stuff. They ended up selling it, I think, to Kerr McGee, who then went to Anadarko or whatever it ended up being. Maybe the Sanchez's had it for a while. I don't remember, but I mean that lease has been, it's a prolific lease, and
19,000 acres.
95,000 acres. Yeah.
Holy smokes.
Yeah,
man.
they built that company, and then from there they went on to do great things. But yeah, I mean, it's that was the first time, and I'll never forget the cheeseburgers got us in.
The cheeseburgers, they got you in. I love it, dude. I love it.
Gosh, the best or most memorable.
Not even necessarily the deal that you made most money on.
No, that's what I'm thinking of. Yeah, that's getting my wife to marry me. No.
Yeah.
Convincing her to do it. No, man. The 95,000 acre was cool, but that wasn't my deal. I headed up as a young landman. when we were working for the same client, they all had us staying at their deer lease in Cotulla. And we were down there in the trenches with El Paso and Chesapeake, and it was during the LaSalle boom days. And I headed up the crew, and we ended up putting together about 18,000 acres of leasehold all along 624 coming out of Cotulla heading south, and that was basically the company builder for this company's second entity. And I was really proud. We were like 26 years old, a bunch of like ragtag young landmen, and we were out there like in the bars, at the steakhouses, meeting the people, like, again, networking, being on the ground, and like putting together that acreage for that client was really cool, because they ended up selling it to Chesapeake for a huge return. Yeah. And so, like, I don't know, that always sticks out as like a feather in my cap as a young guy putting together that kind of deal.
Totally. When did you transition? Like, so in your business now,
yeah,
are you primarily doing, is it primarily minerals? Are you guys supporting brokers that are buying leases? Like,
yeah.
Where do you?
Yeah, so the majority of my business now is minerals and royalties, putting together deals, and then most recently helping guys finance their own deals. But yeah, no, I'm focused on. I've got kind of a group of network of investors, and we all kind of share a buying parameter thesis that we like. And so if I can find deals and put together deals that we like that fit that parameter, we'll put them together, pass the hat, subscribe to it, close it, and then we've kind of moved into this new direct deal model, which a lot of the high net worths and family offices are looking for, where I don't have to manage it anymore. I just pass the hat at closing. Everyone gets their, their interest in kind, and they can all, manage it their own way. And then I get, whatever, my carried interest and a little fee or whatever, and we move on to the next deal. And so we've been doing a lot of that over the last couple of years. And then if it doesn't fit that model, then I take it to all my connections in the broker. I mean, in the mineral world, and sell it to the private equity funds and the other family offices and different people like that.
Got it. So you started core financing last
March?
Year?
No, March of this year.
This year.
Yeah.
And so tell me, like, the impetus for core, and really, I think it's super cool kind of how it relates back to your experience basically being a broker. But yeah, I mean, take us all the way through, like, why you saw the need, and kind of how it led to
so I mean,
core.
It kind of stemmed out of this model that I've moved into. So last November we had a deal. It was like a little bit over $8 million deal. We'd passed the hat, fully subscribed, and like 10 days before closing, one of the investors called me and basically said, all hell's broken loose over here, I'm out. And he had a 12.5%, so just over like $1 million. And it was one of those like, you're not out, you can't be out, And he was like, I don't know what to tell you, I'm out. And so I scrambled. I started calling on all my banking relationships, and then went through the Google Rolodex of the mezzanine and bridge gap guys. And the deal was either too small or too short a timing to get approved. And so, I ended up being able to get the deal done by going to another one of the family offices that passed on the deal. And, they loaned me the money, but they charged me basically out of flesh and my firstborn son, and but got the deal done. And so, but then I started looking around, because I'd done some real estate investing over the years and used hard money for those, and it's all asset-based lending with those guys. And so, if you're buying something right and you've underwritten it right, the loan covers more than that.
Makes sense.
And and some of the development or whatever. So it makes sense. So started looking around in the oil and gas space and realized there's no one doing that in the entire space for short-term asset-backed financing.
Yep.
And so really, it came out of that, and really, it's. I mean, we're all in this to make money, but there is a true altruistic motive here of helping the brokerage network have access to capital that traditionally we have not had access to.
Totally, yeah. Power to the brokers.
Yeah, man.
I love it.
Banking the unbankable.
Yeah. No, I love it. So let me ask, okay, so let's run through a couple of scenarios.
Yeah.
So let's say that I've got, an unleased tract in Caddis, right, in Harrison County, Ohio, right? I feel pretty confident, right? There's activity all around it. It's going to get drilled within the next 5 years. How would you, like, I bring that deal to you, right? What does it look like?
Yeah, so we would take it. My partner, Julio Franco, is the former head of engineering for Royalty Clearinghouse. So luckily, he and I are able to work in any basin. We're not basin agnostic, so we would take it, underwrite it, and then we assign some kind of, risk mitigation to it based on timing and the risk of itself, on like what, how likely do we think this is going to happen. And so,
So do you underwrite it as if you would buy it, or okay?
We have to we treat every deal that we're going to own it.
Got it.
And so with that, we have to feel comfortable buying something knowing we can exit it, because our capital does not want to own things at this point, or at least in our entity.
Well, that's not the plan.
Yeah.
It's not loan to own, like but I guess you have to be prepared for that
right.
at some level.
Yes,
right?
and then be able to liquidate.
Got it.
And I guess like on certain deals, the investors, we offer them the opportunity to buy it if they want it, in their pro rata share or whatever. But like, that's neither here nor there. Most of the time, they want us getting out of deals and recycling their capital into the next deal. And so, so on the leasehold, we take a look at it. You just tell us you need 30, 60, 90, 120 days. And then based on that, we would come back with, some kind of a fee based on the lending. And then, go from there.
Got it. So it's really like it's hard money. I mean, it's bridge financing,
gap financing. Yeah,
right.
With short term, we're not looking for year and 18 months. It's a short term deal.
Got it. So, and I'm just trying to think like through in my head, like how I would use that. Would be, maybe if I'm aggregating smaller tracts, call it, sub 5 acre tracts, right? And I know that I can get a better exit, right? Or that a buyer's willing to pay more if I can deliver more acreage. So you guys are kind of agnostic. What about reservoir categories or res cats? I mean, like, do you have a preference for, do you need cash flow in deals? Like, will you underwrite like pure PUD, like what, or unleased minerals, undrilled, like what is are there higher, kind of risk things that you put on?
Yeah, I mean, I think, it kind of moves up just like it does in any investment in the oil and gas space. Like unleased minerals or leasehold is probably going to be our riskiest, highest risk on the factor. And then you move up through, PUDs, DUCs, PDP or whatever. And so, I mean, if we have a steady cash flow, near-term development, that is like kind of our thesis, our investment model that we're the most comfortable with. So we know we can do something with that. So, I mean, the one that really comes to mind is back when we were living in Cotulla and we were on the ground leasing. My best friend and I go into a bar. It was called Angels, and this was, calling a bar is being very generous. It was the locals watering hole in Cotulla in, I don't know, 2006, before the big boom and everything had moved in. This was us and the locals, and we walk in, and my buddy is this kind of Austin hipster, and he walks in with like multicolored Converse and a pink tiger belt, pattern belt. And we go to get this lease from the guy at the bar, and we walk in there, and he's doing all the talking because he's the one that had lined it up. And we're having a beer, and we get the deal, and we give him the check or whatever. And the dude, the last thing he says to us is, he says, "Hey, next time you come in this bar, if you're wearing that belt, you better have a gun with you, because you're not going to get out of here again," or something like that along those lines. And that was like really the only time that I've ever was like, oh shit, like,
Yeah.
And he was serious. He was dead serious. And we never signed another lease in Angels again, I'll tell you that, or stepped foot in that bar. But yeah, I mean, that's probably like the craziest thing I remember happening with, in a situation of being like, oh man, that was close.
Love it. So Cas, but I recently I launched a course, right?
Yeah.
And what we do is we bring people in, regardless of their background, right? And we teach them the basics and the foundations of mineral rights. And then we actually take them through, you know, kind of practical step-by-step of, you know, how you find, underwrite, and close mineral rights deals.
Just what we need in this business. More competition. More competition.
Or
Thanks.
more clients.
Yeah, there you go.
But what would you like? Because I've got a lot of like young, hungry guys like in the program, and it's actually been really interesting to see just the quality of the folks that we're getting that have, you know, it's people that either work in, you know, oil and gas field services, or we've got guys that are working for large operators that work in regulatory, or, you know, tangentially, but, you know, kind of relating to mineral rights, but they want to get in on the action, you know, and they want to learn how to do the deals, whether as a main hustle or side hustle.
Don't do it. No, I'm kidding. No, I'm kidding. No, I mean, the best advice I ever received was from my dad when I got in the business. And his thing was, you know, you think the oil and gas industry is a international, massive business, which it is. But when you start getting into either operating minerals, and especially Texas minerals, or you know, and you shrink it down to that, the sandbox grows so small so quick. And, you know, he always instilled in me that don't think this is bigger than it is. You know, your reputation is everything in this business. And one deal's not worth screwing someone over because everyone's going to know about it. Like, I always joke that we're worse than the ladies down at the beauty shop on Friday afternoons, the way we all talk amongst each other about people, about deals, whatever. And, you know, I think that was the best advice I had is always put your reputation first. And that should be the most important thing. And then advice that I would give to new guys coming into the business, you know, what served me the best, and I still try to do it today, but especially new guys to the business before maybe you're married or with kids or just getting in, is don't ever say no to an invite or an opportunity, and go to as many networking deals as you can. And as uncomfortable it is, just start talking to people. I think our industry on the mineral side is a very friendly, open, pretty, you know, accepting community, and that's how deals are done, is building your network and you know, getting and going to every event that you can.
100%. Yeah. Or doing stuff like this. You know, it's like, you know, I didn't create a YouTube channel, right, and do all this content, you know, because I love being on camera. Like, I do. This is very strategic, right? What I'm trying to do is fill a gap, right, and basically, you know, create content, right, so that it can drive leads for my business. Right. So it in the same vein, it's like, if you're constantly in your comfort zone, then you're not growing.
No, totally. That's kind of how I am with, you know, I've never been a social media guy, and with core financing, I've been using LinkedIn to post, and every time I hit post, it literally makes me kind of want to vomit because I'm not used to doing that. But it is an amazing tool, and I'm in this too. I'm so excited to be on this, but like, the social media is another great thing. I mean, it really is changing the way our business is done, and the way you can get your deals and message and out there. It's I mean, that's a great question. You know, at first it was having good indie buyers, and now I think it's sourcing solid deals.
Bingo. I totally agree with that, and that's what I tell everybody, is that the hardest part of this business is finding the deal, right? Because I mean, now, like at Christmas time, like I get people sending me, you know, my end buyers are sending me tomahawk steaks and all sorts of stuff. It's like the buyers they want to be known, right, to guys like us, because they want to see the deals. You know, in my view, the real value creation in our space is in being able to uncover and find, you know, sellers that want.
And you know, also is sniffing out a non-seller and not wasting your time on a tire kicker or just an unreasonable. We're deal junkies. It's like, you think you're going to convince them to come off of this ledge, and then in the end you waste months on them, and then, you know, nothing budges and you realize you wasted.
No doubt. And it's funny because I got a student in the course, great guy, and he brought a deal, and I've been kind of helping him through it, right? And this is like Leonetti County, super competitive. the most dangerous mineral owners are honestly the ones that know enough, right? But they don't really have a full comprehension,
Sure.
right, of the business, of what they own, right? So he just started sending me all this email traffic, from the seller, and very, pretty soon I was like, dude, don't spend another freaking minute on this.
Yeah.
This guy thinks he owns way more than he does. Right, because I helped him tie out all the decimals from the check stubs to figure out how many NRAs he owned, right? And then B, I mean, he was shopping the deal to Kingdom Come.
Yeah.
Right. And really just kicking tires. You know what I'm saying? So at some level, it's like you definitely got to know, and it takes experience and it takes practice and it really takes getting burned and wasting a bunch of time on deals. Right, but before you realize it's like, this guy's not a seller.
It just kind of made me think about it. But back to the worst deal probably I ever did. I worked on a deal before COVID and post COVID for almost 2.5 years. People told me the guy, like I knew his reputation or whatever, but I had him, and we were, he was a real seller. We got down to the half-a-yard line. It was the biggest deal of my career. To that point, and we half-yard line, and basically it came between the buyer and me, and the buyer were going to overpay just to try to get this guy out of the deal. And I go to the seller and I say, if you do this, we've got a deal. The buyer's already committed to it. The buyer basically made me promise them. I said, I can't speak for him, but I'm telling you, if you do this, we have a deal.
Yep.
This is like Friday, Memorial Day. Monday or Tuesday or whatever, there's an email that goes around to all the powers that be on the buy side and the sell side without talking to any of us, and it was thanks but no thanks.
Oh man!
And it was like 2.5 years of my life.
Oh my gosh!
And it's to your point. Like ever since that deal, I've really learned to smell it out a lot sooner and not be invested in something that it's going to be a waste of time for all involved.
Totally. Yeah, no, that's such great feedback. The other thing that I tell my guys too, right, because we do a lot of cold outreach, right, is I have a tendency, like whenever I'm searching in a new AOI, to just go way down the rabbit hole and do 10 hours of title research. We don't make money doing title research. We make money calling people, right? And doing outreach, right? So I'm like, for every 1 hour that you're spending doing research, it's great. It's cool. I find it fascinating. You're following a family tree and figuring out who owns what. And as landmen, like we have, like that's what we do, right? But at the end of the day, like we get paid when deals get done.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying? So you got to balance, the desire to go down the rabbit hole, right, with spending time actually, talking to mineral owners, right? And I love talking to mineral owners. I still, talk to folks, several times a week on kind of active deals that I'm working, and the other thing too, I guess with cold outreach is, all they can say is no.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like once you get
it's a numbers
past
game.
That,
it's like dating.
It's a numbers game. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. It's a numbers game, right?
Yeah.
So for every 10 people you call, 8 of them may tell you to forget, to forget their phone number.
How'd you get my number?
Yeah, exactly. Right. But you get the one, then you can have a really kind of meaningful, conversation with them, but you definitely got to have thick skin.
Oh yeah. Yeah. It's like golf. It's that one shot that keeps you coming back. It's just when you're on a cold streak, you just need one to get you to be like, okay, this is why I do this.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Exactly. Dude, I love that.
Man, that's crazy. I honestly think the biggest thing that I've seen in my career is technology. That and then the rise of the mineral asset class. When I got in this business, it was like the weird guys were mineral buyers that no one paid attention to, and now it's like we're the rock stars of the oil and gas industry or whatever. It's just kind of a funny thing, but really the biggest change for me was technology. I mean, when I first got in the business, the guy, Butch, he carried around a typewriter in his car to type up leases. And I remember thinking, like, how's there not a software, and this was like in 2004, but like, how's there not a software you just type in a form and you print out a lease or whatever, and now we've evolved into this awesome technology with combo curve.
Do you remember forms on a disc?
Yeah, hell yeah, I had those canes form on a disc.
Yeah, buddy.
And that was a big revolution.
Yeah, it was.
It was huge.
Yeah.
I mean, it saved me so much time. And now we're way past all that with the engineering software and all the other stuff that we have. It's just, and then CRMs and it's just all that stuff. I mean, I'm pretty still old school. I do a lot on Google Sheets, a lot of it, but the CRM stuff and all that, it's just the technology. It's grown, and I always kind of joke that the oil and gas industry is like the last of the dance,
Totally. Like we can drill a hole in the ground this big down and then out 4 miles and hit a dime, right? But when it comes to technology, and marketing and all the things, like we are like the last industry to adopt.
Yeah, no, I mean, like when I was in when I was at Rain Oil and Gas, my partner and I, we were one of the first guys that I knew of using robo-dialers.
Yep.
And like the massive data download of 50,000 names a month and dropping them into the auto dialer and all that, and like registering into the CRM. But like that came from my buddies that were wholesalers, real estate guys.
Yeah.
And they're like, you literally have people in a room dialing one number at a time, and we're like, yeah. And they were like, oil and gas, and then they opened our eyes to that, and but man, so that's that. And then 10 years from now, I gotta say AI. I mean, it's here, and I think more and more. I mean, I use it every day, and I'm a simpleton when it comes to technology. But I mean, I think the AI component on
it's crazy,
marketing and drilling and everything is, I'm not afraid of it replacing us or jobs or anything like that. I mean, I'm sure some of it, but I just think at the pace we're seeing this thing develop, that's going to be in the next 10 years. It's going to be crazy.
It's wild, and and I've been using ChatGPT for a couple of years now. But like I am getting to the point now where I literally pick my phone up and I talk into ChatGPT and just give it stream of consciousness and ask it for whatever I need. Yeah. And boom, it just gives it to me, which is just it's crazy. Like what I find myself doing is adopting it. Like I'm using it like Google now, which is crazy. Like I'm almost going to ChatGPT as much as I go to Google because I need answers to specific questions, which is just is wild.
Yeah, no, I think Google's revenue or search something I saw the other day that it's down.
Yeah.
That people are using ChatGPT and Grok or whatever instead of Google now.
Yeah, and I think that and there's so many ways to use it, from processing unstructured data in PDFs, which is where how I build like a lot of my audiences and outreach lists and stuff like that, to just asking it general questions. Like today I was like, hey, I had this podcast called Driving in Cars with Mineral Guys. I need 20 questions to ask. Yeah. And I just gave it stream of consciousness, and I like unedited, like boom, 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 boom.
Great questions too. Yeah, no, it's impressive.
Unbelievable, man. So what inning do you think we're in? Like in shale, in minerals, like what do you think the next kind of 10 years has to hold for really kind of deal making in the oil and gas space?
I am not a doomsday guy. I see all these new companies springing off of picking off, it's like one man's trash is another man's treasure. And so I just had a call yesterday with some guys that are raising money on, and I think it's a brilliant idea, raising money on a deal by deal thing where they go and buy legacy non-op assets from the majors who don't want them anymore, and it's a liability on their balance sheet. And so these guys are picking up great acreage. It's just, I think again, as an industry, we evolve, and so are we at peak drilling and all that? Maybe.
Probably.
The Permian, probably, but is the business going down? No, I don't even think we're at the pinnacle yet. I think we continue to be innovative. There's still a lot of oil out there in a lot of places, and minerals to be bought. I don't know where we are now, but I know when I was putting together some presentations a year ago, it was still like 94% of mineral ownership was privately held.
Yep.
And so like, golly, that's a lot of minerals to buy.
Well, and the other thing too is I think that as the industry gets, as the mineral rights space gets more sophisticated, right, and as it gets more competitive, I think mineral sellers all of a sudden start to realize that selling and getting liquidity can make a lot more sense.
Yeah.
Versus 20 years ago when Landman shows up on your doorstep and he's like, I'll buy your minerals for $100 an acre.
Yeah, or three times your bonus.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And then the drilling rig shows up, 2 weeks later. I mean, as mineral owners get more sophisticated, right, and as the industry, as the mineral rights industry grows, I think more people are apt to sell, right? Because they're getting a market value for what it is that they own.
Well,
right?
and to your point too on that, and one thing I would say to all the mineral owners out there, what I hear the most is, well, my grandfather or great grandfather told me to never sell my minerals, and I think those days are gone. I think your grandfather or great grandfather bought those to help his family, and I'm pretty sure $5 million is going to help your family,
Right,
and even more so, and I think you've talked on this before, but as things get fractionalized, you're losing value. As it goes generation by generation, those minerals aren't worth what they once were. And so to create a liquidity event for your family where you can take a lump sum of cash now versus 15, 20 years down the road when it's worth less money, been drilled up, I think it opens the door to that. And it's like, I don't understand. I guess I understand why, because it's just that old adage, but I think, educating owners on that aspect of it's okay to sell your minerals. It's good for your family. You can do a lot with that money now versus waiting 20 years.
Totally. And it does make sense, for some families to hold, right? To create and perpetuate legacy. But man, I talk to a lot of folks that where it really does make the most sense for them to get as much cash as they possibly can.
Sure.
Right. And
it can be life changing.
It can, right? And that's that really is the service that we provide to folks, right?
Yeah.
And I'm not bashful about telling people exactly what it is that I do, right?
Yeah.
Where I'm going to talk to at a town hall, on this Friday, and I'm going to stand up and raise my hand and say, I'm a mineral buyer. If anybody doesn't want to lease and they want cash now, come talk to me.
Yeah.
Right. And who knows? Maybe I'll get booed and they'll throw food and fruit at me. Right. But I got a pretty good feeling that we're going to get some deals that come out of it.
Yeah.
So, no, I think it's great, man. And opportunities like this and making content, I think it's just, there's really just a void of information out there. And the more information we can provide, the more we can get this message out, the more comfortable we're going to get sellers to realize that liquidity can be the right thing.
And to combat the terrible things you read on mineralowners.com or whatever about these snakes in the grass and all that. Know out there are good mineral buyers. There are good people in this business that do have your best interests at heart. We're not all snakes, I promise.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, that's right.
I always get a kick out of that. You're like, golly, who are these guys that are doing this to these people? It's terrible. No wonder we have a bad name.
Well, and it goes back to reputation, and I mean, my reputation is everything to me. And I will literally, I've done deals that where I just bent over backwards, right? In order to bring the deal together, because I care about protecting that, not only to people in the industry, but also to mineral sellers, right? In all of the basins, where I'm buying, there are good people out there.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, I freaking love that. That was fantastic.
What it is, it's kind of for the first time in my life, I feel that I've recognized a void to help myself, my family, and the business grow and actually build a company that can be sold or handed off to my son one day and continue this legacy of the oil and gas and maybe a fifth generation. I always joke that I want my son to go, not even go to college and go be a plumber, and I can help him build the best plumbing business in Austin or whatever. But, honestly, as a broker, we are the company. You can have guys under you, but eventually you are the face of that company, and we're only as good as the last deal. And if I get hit by a bus tomorrow, well, that's the end of core, right? And so this is something I see as an opportunity to build a real company that can grow and support an entire aspect of our industry, which is the ground game brokers. And I mean, we're talking to operators to help them buy out nodes. You know, I think kind of back to the innovativeness of the oil and gas industry, I created this thing for one thing, and other people are coming to me with ideas
Totally.
on how they could use it for something else besides what I thought it was for.
Yep.
And you know, and so my hope is that people keep calling me, and we keep doing these new deals and new ways to help people. Because, like, again, back to the message, it really is to help guys that have not been able to be helped before, you know, with traditional financing.
I love it, dude.
Providing capital solutions for those guys.
No, I'm excited for you. I think there's definitely a need for it, and I'm excited to try to find ways to work together. So, tell everybody how they can find you.
You can find us at our website's coreenergyventures.com, and my email and all that's there. And then you can find me on LinkedIn, and my email is catchison@coreevus.com. If you need anything, would love to hear how I can help you.
Awesome. Thank you, Cas.
Thanks, Steven. It's been great.